Have you ever believed in something, only to have it betray you? I once believed in love, in the family, in kindness, in some higher power up above who would protect the weak, people like me, until the day everything I believed in died right before my eyes. People say, there's a God, there are angels, there's light at the end of the tunnel. But all I saw was darkness at the beginning of the road. I stopped believing, stopped waiting, stopped praying. I became an atheist, not because I was smarter than anyone else, but because I had been hurt too deeply to dare hope anymore. And then I died. It wasn't because of an accident. It was because I chose to pull out the last IV myself to bring my story to its final page. No tears, no goodbyes, no God. But what I didn't expect, death would lead me to life? My name is Rachel Monroe. I was 28 years old. I used to be a good kid, the kind who read the Bible every night before bed. I once asked my mother, if I ever got lost, would God still find me? She stroked my hair and smiled. God never loses track of the ones he loves. When I was 11 years old, my stepfather did something no one should ever do to a child. At 17, I got pregnant. My boyfriend left. My mother cried and told me to do what needed to be done. I had an abortion, alone. At 20, my mother died of cancer. The disease was caught too late. The insurance wasn't enough to cover treatment. She lay curled up in bed, trembling, praying, "Dear God, please take me gently." I sat beside her, holding her hand tight, screaming in my mind, "If you're real, at least let her die without pain." But she did feel pain, and she did die, and he never came. I didn't cry. I just shut off the switch inside me. I started using drugs to numb the nerves that were tired of waiting. Waiting for whom? I didn't even know. All I knew was every time I came down from a high, I was still here, still Rachel, still alive, still hurting. I didn't reject God because he was too powerful. I rejected him because he was too silent. If he's all-powerful, why doesn't he stop evil? If he's loving, why do good people die? If he exists, why would he stay silent with me? I became skilled at arguing against faith. I studied philosophy, read Nietzsche, Dawkins, and Hitchens, and I wrote online. I didn't write a suicide note. I didn't post a final status. I simply pulled out the needle and whispered, "I'd rather die than believe in something that never speaks," I injected. My breathing turned shallow. My chest tightened. My heart burst in my chest like an egg being crushed. I thought I would disappear, but I didn't. No darkness, no nightmares, no pain, just light, white, vast, soft, still. A kind of light that knew exactly who I was. I no longer had a body, no more cold, no more hunger. But I was still me, a version of me that was clearer, more real, and more terrifying. I began to panic. Is this a hallucination? A drug trip? An illusion? No one answered. And then, a voice spoke. Not through my ears, not with words, but through the entire space around me. "Rachel, do you still believe death is the end?" I said nothing. That voice continued, gentle as the wind, heavy as the universe. "If I showed you that you chose everything that happened to you, would you have the courage to look back?" I began to tremble, not because I feared judgment, but because, for the first time in my life, I realized I couldn't hide anymore. I was about to be taken to a place called the Soul Planning Room, where my soul had chosen every pain, every challenge, every shattered piece, before I was ever born. I had chosen my mother. I had chosen my stepfather. I had even chosen the death of my child. And now, I was about to see why. I had always thought I was a victim of life. But in that place, bathed in white light, with a voice that knew everything, I was about to learn that I had chosen it all. And if I had chosen it once, What would happen if I started choosing again? I was born into a home where shouting echoed louder than laughter. My father left before I ever learned to say his name. My mother worked 2 jobs, always tired, irritable, sighing, praying more out of habit than faith. God existed in our home like an old, crooked picture hanging on the wall, covered in dust. No one cleaned it, but no one dared take it down either. When I was 9, my mother remarried. My stepfather was a tall man, smelled of cigarettes, with eyes sharp like blades. He smiled at everyone, but when it was just me in the room, that smile turned into a living shadow. I never told my mother. Who believes a sleepy child in the middle of the night? Who would believe it when he still went to church every Sunday, still read the Bible before dinner? I started going silent. I learned how to be as quiet as stone. I secretly burned the family Bible in the shed. I wrote on my bedroom wall, "If God is real, He wouldn't have let this happen." Every unanswered prayer killed a piece of me quietly. By age 12, I no longer smiled when music played. At 14, I learned how to cut my wrists, just right, not deep enough to hit an artery. At 16, I smoked weed for the first time right after my best friend betrayed me. I wasn't looking for a way out. I just wanted to forget I was alive for a little while. At 18, I got pregnant. The first person I thought of was my mother. I called her, voice trembling. She sighed, coldly, detached. "You think you can keep it in a life like this?" I understood. I said nothing. I ended the pregnancy. When I signed the papers, the nurse asked, "Do you have anyone with you?" I shook my head. No one was with me. And no one was with him, the baby who never got to be born. I didn't cry. I stared at the ceiling. It was white too, but there was no light. I swear, if there is a creator, he was busy with someone else that day, not me. I moved on to harder drugs, heroin, meth, fentanyl. They made everything slow down, like I was underwater. They stopped my dreams, and I liked that. I met men on Tinder, on street corners, in cheap motel rooms. I sold my body, but not my soul, because I no longer had one. I didn't believe in love, didn't believe in family, didn't believe in the future. I didn't believe in God. I only believed in the next high, and the silence, the only thing that had never betrayed me. I used to look in the mirror, not to see my face, but just to make sure I was still human, because sometimes I wasn't sure. One time I walked past a church. A group of people were praying. One man looked up, eyes wet, and said, "God, I surrender." I laughed a hollow, bottomless laugh. He doesn't care, man. And I kept walking. I thought to myself, people pray when they run out of options. I didn't pray anymore. I chose. I chose to live in the darkness, because the light had never chosen me. And then, on a day just like any other, I gave myself a dose that was a little too much. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it wasn't. Either way, it didn't matter. I closed my eyes, thinking I was about to sleep forever. What I didn't know was I was about to be forced to open them. Not with my physical eyes, but with the eyes of my soul. I thought I was a victim. I believed I was the one abandoned, pushed to the bottom of society, cursed by a God who didn't exist. What I didn't know was I was about to see with my own eyes that I had chosen it all. If you've ever thought you were born by mistake, thrown into a life of meaningless suffering, wait until the moment you see this. Your soul chose it all for a reason you never could have imagined. I don't remember the exact moment my heart stopped beating. All I know is, at some point, every sound around me vanished. No more car horns, no voices, not even the sound of my breath. I opened my eyes, but not my physical ones. I saw myself floating near the ceiling, looking down at my body motionless on the floor. That body looked pale, cold, and unfamiliar. I wanted to scream, to call out for someone, but no sound came. I had no mouth, no vocal cords. I was nothing but raw, confused awareness. Then a stream of light appeared, not blinding, but gentle and warm. It didn't come from any one source. It seemed to fill everything. I was pulled into it, unable to resist. It felt like being held, soothed, and loved in a way I had never experienced in my entire life. I didn't know where I was, but I knew I was no longer in the world I came from. There was no more pain, no more fear, only perfect peace. I began to see images, not with my eyes, but with my mind. Memories. Moments from my life appear as clearly as scenes from a film. I saw myself as a child, playing in the park. I saw my mother holding me when I cried. I saw the mistakes I had made, the pain I had caused others. And with each image came not only my emotions, but the emotions of everyone I had affected. I felt my mother's pain when I ran away from home. I felt the disappointment of friends I had betrayed. There was no judgment, but I judged myself. I saw the consequences of every action, every word I had ever spoken. And then a voice echoed, not from outside, but from deep within me. You chose this life, with all of its experiences. I didn't understand. I chose this? Who would choose pain, addiction, and loneliness? Before you were born, your soul agreed to these challenges to learn and to grow. I saw myself in another space, a vast library, a place where the memories and life plans of all souls were kept. I saw myself, but it was a radiant version of me, overflowing with light and love, carefully reviewing the options for the life to come. I saw myself choosing my mother, my family circumstances, and the challenges I would face. No one forced me. I chose with the purpose of learning how to forgive, how to love, and how to overcome darkness. And I began to understand. Every pain I had endured was not a punishment, but a lesson. Every wound was not random, but an opportunity to grow. I felt a sense of relief like nothing I had ever known. I forgave myself. I forgave those who had hurt me. I felt unconditional love, not just from the light, but from within myself. I was no longer a victim. I was a student on a journey of learning. I thought I was a victim of fate, but in that place, I discovered I was the author. And what I was about to see next would make you question everything about your own life. I stood before a door. No handle, no hinges, no knocking, no opening. It simply knew I was there, and it opened on its own. The air behind that door, it was like nothing I had ever known. No smell, no color, no time. And yet it was thick with something that felt exactly like unconditional love. Before me was an infinite space, a kind of library, but with no books. Only glowing orbs of energy, floating like tiny celestial bodies. Each orb was a life, a story either unfolding or about to begin. And then I saw myself, not my physical body, but my soul's essence, radiant, warm, deeply aware of who I was. That version of me was standing with a group of other souls. They didn't speak with words, but I understood everything. We were preparing for a journey, a human life. I heard the soul of my mother ask, "Are you sure? This life won't be easy." My soul nodded. I want to learn how to forgive, how to love, without needing to be loved in return, how to hold the light amid darkness. Another soul stepped forward, the one who would later become my stepfather. He said, "If you agree, I will be the one to bring the first pain, not because I hate you, but because your soul needs to break to find itself." I, as that soul, embraced him. Thank you for agreeing to play the villain. None of these roles is easy for any of us. I turned toward another glowing orb, a small soul, the one who would later be my child. They said, "I'm only coming for a short while, so you can learn to let go, and to remind you that love never disappears." I wept, not with tears, but with a feeling of breaking open, then being held together, instantly. I saw my soul contract like a map made of energy. On it were bright points and opportunities, and dark spots posed challenges. And the branching paths, Those were the places where I would get to choose again. Not everything was predetermined. It was all an opportunity to learn. I looked back at my life at the moment I once believed God is punishing me, and realized no one was punishing me. My soul had loved me enough to choose the most difficult path to grow. There was no judgment, only a light overflowing with wisdom and love. The voice echoed again from everywhere and nowhere at once. Now do you understand why you chose it? I nodded, though one question still stirred in my heart. If I chose everything, can I choose again? The voice smiled, not with sound, but with vibration. Of course, that's why you were brought here. Not to look back with regret, but to remember you can begin again, right now. I bowed my head, not out of shame, but because, for the first time in my life, my soul was standing tall. I was no longer the addicted Rachel, no longer the abused child, no longer the bitter, unbelieving woman. I was a soul who had once chosen darkness to learn how to carry the flame. I asked, "So, do I have to go back?" The voice responded tenderly, "The choice is yours, but remember, the light you found here will mean nothing if you don't take it back to the world." I turned away, but this time I wasn't running. I walked toward the light, not a radiant, holy light, but the light of a life not yet finished. I used to think I was a victim of fate, but in that place I saw myself choosing every piece of my life, every tear, every scar. And now, with the chance to choose again, there was only one question left. Do I have the courage to live the life my soul truly longs for? I stood in the space of souls. Behind me, the library of light, where I had just reviewed my pre-birth plan. In front of me, a gate, wide open, leading back to the old world. That world was me. I was Rachel, addicted, exhausted, alone, broken. I didn't want to go back. I clutched my soul, if you could call it that, and whispered, "I understand now. I know why everything happened, but please let me stay here." That gentle voice didn't argue. It simply asked with a silence so still it was almost terrifying, "What are you most afraid of if you return?" I didn't answer right away, because the real answer wasn't easy to speak. I wasn't afraid of addiction. I wasn't afraid of physical pain. I was afraid of failing again. Afraid of coming back only to hurt people all over again. Afraid I wouldn't be strong enough to carry the mission I had chosen. If you stay, you will rest, but your soul will miss a vital lesson, and the mission you carried will be passed to someone else. But you will always feel that you missed something profoundly important. Suddenly, I saw a series of images before me. I woke up in a hospital bed, shaking, panicked, but alive. I sat in a recovery circle, holding the hand of a young woman who looked just like I once did. I stood on a small stage, sharing my story with people who thought they had nothing left to live for. I looked into someone's eyes and saw them change. Because in that moment, they realized, if I could still be here, then maybe they could too. Then the images faded. I gasped, "Was all of that real?" The voice answered softly, as if breathing, "No, it was possible. You get to choose." And then I felt something begin to rise, a warmth from deep within my soul. Not pressure, not a sense of duty, but a calling that didn't come from God or angels or anyone else. It came from me. The highest part of me was looking at the weakest part of me and saying, "You didn't come here to surrender. You came here to remember who you are." And I began to cry, not from pain, but because I remembered myself. I collapsed in the soul space and whispered, "I'm ready, but please don't let me go alone." And just then, a light flared to my right. Another soul appeared in a light I recognized. It was my child, the one I had once lost. No blame, no sadness. The child simply came beside me, placed a tiny hand over my heart, and said, "You're not going alone, Mama. I'm coming with you." I broke down in tears. The light around me began to narrow, pulling inward, and I heard one final voice as I left the realm of souls: "Welcome back. And remember, the light is not outside of you. It's been within you all along." And then I fell, not into darkness, but back into my body. A jolt. My eyes flew open. The monitor was beeping rapidly. I gasped for air, choking on my breath. A nurse screamed, "She's awake! She's back! She's alive!" I couldn't speak. Only tears streamed down my face. Not from pain, not from regret, but because for the first time in years, I knew I had returned to life with a soul that was awake. I once begged to die, but when I stood before the chance to stay in heaven forever, I chose to come back, just to live out one truth. Life is not just breath. It's the reason you're still being woken up tomorrow morning. I opened my eyes. The fluorescent lights hit my eyes like a slap. The beeping monitor, the footsteps, the nurse calling someone, everything felt too real. Not soft, like the realm of souls. Everything here was heavier. I was alive, but my body didn't know whether that was good or bad. My chest ached. I couldn't move. Needles in my arm, a breathing tube up my nose. Beside me stood a doctor, stunned. He whispered, "Your heart stopped for 4.5 minutes. We didn't think. You were coming back." I tried to smile, but every muscle in my body was sluggish, like they'd just run a marathon through hell. I could only whisper one word. My voice was raw like it had been scraped on stone. Water. The nurse brought it to me, cold water, and for the first time I realized how miraculous it felt to simply drink. I had never known that being alive could feel as sacred as a single sip of water. 2 days later, they moved me to a regular room. The doctor recommended a rehab facility once I was stable enough to be transferred. I nodded immediately. No hesitation, no bargaining, because I knew this wasn't a choice. It was a chance. Rehab wasn't the light. It was a layer of physical hell. Each morning I woke up aching head to toe, hands trembling, legs twitching, cold sweat soaking my pillow. Nausea, hallucinations, itching that wouldn't stop. I found myself crying not from feeling moved, but from raw, unfiltered pain. But I cried because I wanted to give up. And every time I was about to let go, I remembered that light. I remembered my child, that small soul, placing a hand over my heart and saying, "I'm coming with you, Mama." I don't know if souls are real to anyone else, but to me, it was the only thing keeping me alive. During the first week in rehab, I didn't talk to anyone. I was afraid they'd think I was crazy. Who would believe a drug addict who flatlined and claimed she met God? But in the second week, I heard a girl named Lila share her story. Her mother had died of an overdose. She had been hospitalized in psych wards 3 times, and once she had begged God to take her life. I suddenly broke down, uncontrollably, and when she looked at me and asked, "What about you? Have you ever begged for that?" I nodded, then whispered like a confession, "I died, and I was asked if I wanted to come back." She looked at me, no smile, no doubt. She just whispered, "There's a reason we came back." From that day on, I started to share. At first, just a few words, then my story, and eventually my faith. Not the kind of faith you preach, but the kind you carry in your eyes, in your voice, in the way you hold someone ready to give up. 3 months later, I left the rehab center. Not clean in the perfect sense, but clear enough to stay clean one day at a time. I moved into a shared home with others in recovery. I worked part-time at a second-hand bookstore owned by a man who was once an alcoholic himself. I wrote in my journal every morning, "I'm still alive. I still have a chance. Today, I will hold the light." One day, I saw a drunk man collapse on the side of the road. People walked past him. I stopped, bought a bottle of water, set it beside him, and whispered, "I used to lie here too. If you wake up and read this, Go to the Light Center in Brooklyn. They won't ask you much, only if you want to live." I signed my name beneath the note. A week later, he showed up at the center. When he saw me, he asked, "Were you the one who left the water?" I smiled, said nothing, because I knew we were sent to each other at exactly the right time. Not to save one another, but to remind each other of who we once were, and who we still could be. I wasn't given a miracle. I was given a chance to help make one happen every single day. And what I was about to do next would become the moment I finally understood. My soul didn't come back just to survive, but to lead the way. I used to think that surviving was the destination, but it turned out it was just a door. And behind that door was a different kind of world. Not heaven, not hell, but the same earth seen through new eyes. I began to notice people like me everywhere. No one wore a sign that said, "I'm in pain," but the way they stayed silent spoke louder than any words ever could. I went back to the rehab center not to be treated, but to sit, to listen, to be present. I didn't retell my life like some Hollywood story. I just shared it honestly, and enough. I said, I died once, not physically, but in my soul, and I truly believed nothing could save me. But what I was shown was that my soul didn't need a miracle. It only needed me to remember who I was. A woman named Ava, who had been through rehab 5 times, held my hand after one of my talks and whispered, "If you could come back from that place, then maybe I can too." I didn't answer. I just placed my hand over her chest, right where her heart was, and said, "That place is where every miracle begins." I was later invited to speak at a center for homeless teens. I brought a small handwritten sign with me. "You are not broken. You are becoming." When I spoke about the moment I died, not a single whisper in the room. No one left their seat. A 17-year-old boy, his arms covered in tattoos, stood up and said, "The way you told it, it felt like something I've seen in a dream." I looked at him and smiled gently. Maybe it wasn't a dream. Maybe your soul is trying to remember itself. I rewrote my story, not to sell, not to turn it into inspiration on social media, but to send to someone who once stood where I had been. Every month, I printed 100 copies. I tucked them into pocket-sized Bibles or slipped them into a folded note that read, "If you're reading this, you're still alive. And if you're still alive, you still have a chance." I left those little booklets at bus stops, in public restroom stalls, on church steps, in all the places where someone might be on the verge of giving up. One day, I received an email. No name, no return address, just a message. I was going to end my life last night, but when I walked into the train station, I found a little booklet, and I cried. For the first time, I felt like someone out there had truly understood me. "I'm going to stay. Thank you." I read the message and said nothing. I didn't cry. I just looked up at the night sky and whispered, "Light is never wasted, as long as we're willing to carry it outside of where it feels safe." I'm not perfect. I'm still afraid, still lonely at midnight, still have mornings where I have to remind myself, you're not living the old life anymore. But there is one thing no one can ever take from me. I know I came back from death to live truthfully. I don't live to be an example. I live to stand beside those still lost in the dark and say, "I'm here, and you don't have to go through this alone." I'm no angel. I'm just living proof that forgiveness is real, the light is real, and resurrection is a choice. I used to think I came back to life to make things right, but I've realized I came back to remind others that they can too. And what I want to say to you in this final moment is the one thing I learned after dying. You were never born by accident, and you were never truly lost. I died, not metaphorically, literally. I stopped breathing, my heart stopped beating, my soul left my body. And in that place where the body no longer exists, I was shown the greatest truth, the one we all try to forget. Your soul chose this life, and it's still waiting for you to live in alignment with why you were born. No one is born by mistake. No wounds accidental. No challenge is a punishment. Every single one is an opportunity to become the highest version of yourself. I used to think I was the garbage of the world, but when I was brought into the light, I wasn't looked down on. I wasn't judged. No one asked, "Why did you fail?" I was only asked one thing. Now that you remember, do you want to begin again? That question, it wasn't just for me. It's for you, right now. If you feel lost, if you've ever asked yourself, why is my life filled with so much pain? If you're standing at a crossroads, unsure whether to move forward or turn back, just pause, gently, and ask yourself, if my soul chose this, what am I meant to learn? Maybe you don't need to know the whole answer. Maybe you're not meant to understand the entire plan of the universe. You just need to know one thing. You're still alive. And being alive means you still have the power to choose again. I didn't come back to tell a mystical story. I don't need you to believe me. I just hope you won't wait until you're staring back from the dark to finally ask, have I truly lived? Don't let the light where you're sitting right now be buried under doubt, anger, or fear. Because the light, it's never left you. You just have to turn back and switch it on. And if this story touched something in you, even just a faint tremble deep within, leave a comment. Tell me, what have you made it through? Where are you standing now? Or where in your life are you still searching for light? Because maybe your story is exactly what someone else needs to keep going. And if you don't want to miss more stories like this, hit follow. Because here, we don't tell stories to entertain. We tell them to remember. To remember that you are not alone, that you can come back, that you've been loved since before you even knew who you were. This isn't the end. It's where you begin to finally see yourself again.